soul, everything that I know says I gotta go, tired of going solo, but I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is, this is who I am, this is where I finally take my stand. I didn't want to fall, but I don't have to crawl. I'm not the one with two star hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again.
Yes, we have. We have been born again.
Thank God.
Yes, without going into a deep theological dissertation.
We've got a back library.
You've been born again.
Yeah,
that's what we want to ask. We should ask it every week. Have you been born again? If you don't know what it means, it's easy enough to find out. Just read the Bible.
Amen.
Amen. Hey, man, we've got big breaking news for those who are just waking up or have not heard or sleeping under a rock. Israel has been attacked by Hezbollah.
Very well funded and organized attack.
And where do you think they might have gotten the money?
I don't. Maybe it's that $600 million that.
You mean $6 billion?
$6 billion. Wow.
It's like usually $600 million.
Well, it was Obama that gave him $500 million cash on a pallet, right? Shipped it over there. Now it's $6 billion.
Billion with a B.
It was frozen assets, to be honest. It was not,
right. That we've had their assets frozen, and it should have remained for. We should have just spent it. Is what we should have done. We should have used it for our $3 trillion budget. I may be wrong, and maybe actually $31 trillion deficit that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But man, can you imagine? No, in fact. See, I'm still wrong. I think we're now up to 33 trillion. In fact, I think it's increased by 1 trillion in 6 months.
Well, and they say if you add all the IOUs in Social Security from what's wrong.
You mean that lockbox?
Yeah, it's like 53 trillion. That's how much we've robbed out of Social Security.
Yeah, it's a debt that we can never repay unless essentially we shut down government.
Yeah.
But hey, without digressing, we don't want to get off the big story right now. Okay, here's the deal. Okay, and this has layers, as I like to say. Okay?
Very much.
So let's dive into this right now. I wish I had some nice theme music to this, but here's the deal. Israel has been attacked by the Hezbollah forces. Hamas. That's right. Thank you. It's hard to get those H's, the Ha's and the Hamases and the La's, and so. But they've been attacked by their Palestinian and Islamic enemies. Okay. Now we know that there are several forces behind all of this, and who's really behind the curtain is Iran. Or Iran, as some like to say. Yeah. So, up until about 2-3 weeks ago, they didn't have money. Joe Biden decided to release $6 billion to them in exchange for some hostages they were holding. So, they got the money. Now, all of a sudden, suddenly, an attack. And this is a well-coordinated attack upon Israel. Yeah. And the Gaza has been attacked. And here's the latest on this. This is what's really, really bad, Dave. Over 100 people were killed. And
so far.
We know it's going to rise from there. But, and here's the worst part. They've abducted hostages.
Yes.
They went from house to house. Because one thing that Israel did, which I think is kind of, in my thinking, it's a little foolish. They put people into the Gaza. And it's like the people that have been warned about flooding or hurricanes and tornadoes in areas that you know are going to get hit by floods and tornadoes. But you got cheap housing. And then they move in there, and then, of course, you get flooded and you lose your house, you get killed or whatever, and then they want to, on the back end, why? Well,
where's God?
Yeah, how could God do this to? Right. So, you know, you moved into a very, very dangerous area, Gaza.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, you're not asking for it, but you knew it was a very high risk area. Let's put it this way. If you were in America, you would be uninsurable.
Yeah.
Okay? Either that, you couldn't afford the insurance unless you were very, very wealthy. So we knew that, okay? But nevertheless, they have video. They're showing women and children being torn out of these places, being beaten, possibly raped. Of course, that's always the worst part of it. And, of course, men being just shot, killed, so forth. It just, let's put it this way, horrible atrocities being committed, okay? Now, then you got some idiots on there saying, oh, it's all fake. It's just Israel trying to get us pulled into another war. You know, you always have these people, you know, just go away. That's all I've got to say. Just go away until it's all over and the smoke settles. You know, it's like Holocaust deniers.
Yeah.
You know, why would you deny something that we know happened, okay?
You're going on rabbit trails, Eddie.
No, I'm just relating.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We know that 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Okay. What they don't tell you is that 12 million were killed in Russia.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? If you want to really go somewhere, go over to the Soviet Union and know that Stalin killed twice as many.
Yeah, I heard 20 million.
Well, the numbers vary, but we know a lot of Jews were killed. They've been killed everywhere. Nobody seemed to like the Jews, okay? Yeah. But at the same time, when you're in Hollywood, everyone loves the Jews, or New York, they love the Jews. They don't like the Hasidim so much, but the ones that are in Madison Avenue or in Hollywood in the entertainment, you know, Kanye can't say a word against them. You know, don't let Kanye say anything. Now that is a rabbit trail right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, now all of a sudden, now I am going. But
it's good you admit it, Eddie. That's good. There's hope.
Now that is a rabbit trail, but I think it's a very legitimate rabbit trail. Okay, so if you're going to be offended, be offended. Okay, don't sit there now all of a sudden and say, well, I don't really think this is that bad. Oh, my goodness. Come on. Get consistent, okay? You got plumes of smoke coming up. They're showing rockets being launched towards Jerusalem.
Yes.
Right? But, that's not really happening.
Yeah.
What kind of idiot are you? You know, they're showing devastation, neighborhoods blown up, you know, everything. You know, and Netanyahu says we're at war. My only thing is why Israel doesn't just unleash, just blow them away.
Yeah,
I do not feel sorry anymore for the people of Palestine. Just send rockets back, blow it away, and let the world scream and yell and holler and say, what you going to do? What you going to do?
Okay. You
know, I mean, honestly, you know, Israel is like the guy. I told you the story about Fair One, remember?
What's that?
Fair One. You remember when I went to Philadelphia?
Okay.
I'm 11 years old.
Yeah.
And I decided to go swimming in this neighborhood, and I didn't know the rules. So I'm fighting a fair fight.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'm trying to fight this guy my own age.
You didn't call for a fair fight.
Right. I didn't call for a fair fight.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the rules. I didn't know if you want a fair fight, you have to ask for a fair fight.
Yeah.
Because if you don't ask for a fair fight, they don't have to fight you fair.
They can gang up on you.
Yeah. I didn't know the rules. Yeah. Next thing I know, I'm fighting a 15-year-old kid, you know, who's 2 feet taller than me and just beats the crap out of me. And
up a few weight divisions.
Yeah, and height, you know. And next thing, and I didn't have anybody jump in for me, you know. So that's what this is like.
Yeah.
This is like Israel being asked to fight fairly.
Yeah.
And, don't hurt any of those innocent women and children while these guys are shooting rockets indiscriminately into residential areas, shooting killing women and children, dragging women and children out, and doing whatever they indiscriminately doing whatever they want. But Israel's got to fight fair and abide by UN treaty or rules.
Right. Can I just throw a few facts in here, just to keep people, because this is late breaking. Those of you watching this live, you're probably getting it from here first. Midnight our time last night, or sunrise in Jerusalem, is when the launch started. I checked with the website from my neighbors, the Chabad House, which is ultra-Orthodox Jewish, and we are in kind of a double Sabbath.
Yeah, it's a Sabbath, a Jewish holiday.
Well, it's 2 days. Now, Yom Kippur ended yesterday, well, or at least historically, it was 50 years ago yesterday the Yom Kippur War happened in 73. At that time, Hamas was the kid brother of the Muslim Brotherhood out of Egypt. They've since left them and gone to Iran for their backing. So Hamas has changed. But they're still a terrorist organization that runs the Palestinian Authority. All right, so, and these things happen right away. Turkey, the Turkish president, is just sweating bullets because if the United States or any of our NATO allies decides to go to war to defend Israel,
they're committed to
Turkey as a NATO, and Turkey will not. They will not fight for a Jewish nation against Islam.
Right.
And it will end NATO, to which I say, for whatever reason, we need to end NATO probably and replace it with some European-led organization that doesn't so much commit the United States to run and pay for it.
Right.
You know, so now I'm going down rabbit trails. But so that's going on. And the last thing I want to observe with you, Eddie, is like when we were in a Revolutionary War, if you were a civilian, you could walk past the British troops. They wouldn't bother you. When the Allied forces liberated Germany, if you were German, you didn't have to worry about the Allied troops attacking you. Hamas is not just attacking women and children and the defenseless. They are taking them hostage.
Right.
So they are not at war with the Israeli government. They are at war with the Jewish identity and nationality and ethnicity.
Right, right. Exactly. And they're just daring anyone to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And the world looks on. I spoke at the, what do they call them? The Typros. Tulsa Young Republicans. Did we
young professionals.
Young. That's the Young Republicans. I'm sorry. As far off as man.
There might be some rhinos in
by
there.
the way, yeah. Oh, yeah. let me tell you. I've quit drinking coffee this week. Yeah, so I'm probably on my third or fourth day, and it takes
on a fast.
It takes a while.
Yeah,
it's more than a fast. I'm trying to just quit, and it's taking its toll a little bit. Migraines and fatigue for a while, so it takes a while. I've done it before, and it really it's weird. It's withdrawal, but it's good for you if you can do it or when you can do it. So, but anyway, I digress again. But anyway, Typros. They're Typros, and they've got this lady who's been in the news. She's the big spokesman for the Muslims here in Tulsa.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember her name right now. And then another guy who's spokesman for the Latinos here in town. Okay. And these two, I might have talked about this before. But anyway, so beforehand they have a bar at the place where we were meeting, and they're in there drinking and socializing, and they're getting along real well and everything. Anything. It's funny how all of these organizations and these leaders, they're all united if they can be against conservatives, Republican ideals, and against
motherhood and apple pie.
America, basically. Yeah, exactly. Against the founding of our nation, all the principles that made this nation great. It's all these anti-American, non-American ideals. You know, Hispanic organizations, Arab organizations, any organization that's non-American. Yes, you know, America's bad, everybody else is good. So here's this black guy shows up, and he's, you know, defending our nation and the American ideals. So anyway, the Hispanic guy gets up and talks about how his kids are being tormented at Bixby public schools or something, and I'm calling him a liar because he's whiter than my wife, you know, and my kids went to Union public schools, you know, and a Christian school here in town. Never had one inkling of any racism, and I know his kids are whiter than my kids, and so he said his kids are being called porch monkeys. And I said, "Oh, he's just lying through his teeth." And I'm, you know, sitting there, and then the Muslim lady who's head of the Muslim Islamic organization here in town, she's in there talking about how the racism of the Jews against the Palestinians, and I said, cut the crap. That's a family feud. Because I think Isaac and Ishmael, they're all descendants of the same Abraham. Yeah. And so they're the same people, right? Yeah. It's the same people, and they're fighting each other, and she's calling it a racial thing. And I asked her, what color, what color, what race are Arabs? What race are Jews? And yeah, right. And it's funny, the audience that was out there, they were just shocked, blown away, because they couldn't, they'd never heard any. They're just blown away that anybody would actually, and then they couldn't, and the girl and the guy, they could not respond.
Well, they're stoking tribalism.
Well, right? Not only that, but they had no answer.
Right.
Because all they can do is spew crap.
Right. Well, this is all tribalism. Because the Midianites were a tribe, okay, right. and the Israelis are a tribe. In fact, there were 12 tribes. Because of
the same family. There's more clans. Let's rather the tribe. Let's say clans.
Yeah, you know, to me, it's all semantics.
Yeah.
Listen, according to the U.S. government, Latino, Hispanic is white. Okay.
Well, or it says Hispanic, non-African, of non-African descent, or non-African,
non-European, I think is what they're saying. I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah, it's not either non-Caucasian or non-African. One of the things.
They will say, are you white, non-Hispanic, is what I think they say, white, non-Hispanic, because the government wants to
Or is Hispanic non-white?
No.
One of the two.
No, it's white, and then they put in parentheses, except non-Hispanic. Because Hispanic is...
You're a liar, Dave.
But to me, listen, you got blonde-haired Cherokees live down the street.
That's another one. Okay. We're really digressing. Let's stay on this one. Let's just try to keep it.
But what I'm saying is, we don't define race by their shade of beige.
No. You know, it's funny, because my wife and I have gotten into, there's a Netflix show now called Vikings Valhalla.
Yeah.
Okay. And
which is not for your kids to watch, right?
Well, no.
Got to put a word. It's pretty brutal, right?
Yeah. It's not as bad as some I've seen. But anyway, any of these Viking shows. But if you see it, it's like the Vikings. They're all Vikings, right? They're all Norse people, but they're just as treacherous among each other as everybody is. You know, the big hero among black people is Shaka Zulu. We've talked about this before. He killed 300,000 Africans marching down to South Africa. He's from and he's from the Bantu tribe. Yeah. And as they marched south to South Africa, he killed 300,000 fellow Africans. But he's my brother. You know, he killed 300,000 of your brothers. You know, so this stuff is just, it's made up. It's concocted for somebody's own political and sometimes monetary advantage. So I'm so tired of this. It just makes me sick. And now getting back to our subject, bottom line, Israel has been attacked by Hamas. Over 100 and counting Israeli citizens have been killed and are being murdered. hostages, women and children have been taken, which they're going to hold now to try to negotiate or to keep Israel from coming in and just willy-nilly killing. But see, the problem is with Israel, they're not like America. Israel may count the cost and saying it's worth it to us to lose however many hostages you have to keep you, to take you out, to keep you from destroying our nation.
Yeah, unlike Biden, they do not negotiate with terrorists.
Right.
Okay, so yeah.
Well, let's put that they used to not. See, they've got some people, in fact, they're almost where we are. The Senate, their form of Congress or whatever, they've got a bunch of liberals in there.
They do.
And that's one of the reasons I think, too, that they're in the situation they are now. And hopefully this will give enough impetus for them to kick those rascals out and get them back to where they need to be.
Yeah, because Benjamin Netanyahu's own brother, Jonathan, died rescuing hostages in Entebbe.
Right.
Uganda.
Right, Uganda, right.
So it's, he's paid a price for it. His family's paid a price. I do want to say... Yeah,
there's one more thing I want to get to. That's the spiritual side to this.
Okay, tell me.
Could this be the beginning of the end?
I don't know.
I just want to throw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
This could be the beginning.
And I do want to say... what we're dealing with here is something where there are Christians amongst the Palestinians. In fact, Bethlehem, the church is run by Armenians, the church where Jesus was born, and there are Christians in Israel. There are Jewish Christians, and there are Palestinian Christians. Mm-hmm. And I side with Christians. They are the salt of the earth. And these are people living in a difficult place. They're being persecuted by both sides. There are ultra-Orthodox Jews who are persecuting Christians in Israel. There are, Muslim terrorists persecuting Christians amongst their Palestinian residents there. And that's where I stand first. How are the Christians handling this? And to me, that will be the key to getting some peace and stability.
Right. But at the same time, just because they're called themselves Christians does not make them... I mean, I hate to say that. You know, it's like the old Keith Green thing. Just because you're born in a church doesn't make you a Christian any more than being born in a barn makes you a cow.
Let me say this, though, Tab. If the whole nation was, if it was Germany in 1936,
right,
and, Hitler were to identify with Christianity, then you have to question, are you just nominal? But to be a Christian in either Israel or in Palestine or in Gaza, you pay a price just for identifying as a Christian.
Yeah, but it's still a personal choice. It's still a personal relationship. How deep is the relationship, or is it something you're born into?
But
is it our family tradition that I am a Christian, and you're just so stubborn, darn?
Yeah. There is an organization that's constantly doing fundraising commercials on conservative cable news that is saying, isn't it wonderful as a Christian that you could help Jews?
Right. And in Russian Jews and in Israel.
Right. And the Apostle Paul says, do good unto all men, especially those of the household of faith.
Right. That's
especially.
It's the household of faith, not the household of the name.
Yeah. And, so that's really, if you see a Palestinian and a Hebrew couple of Christians getting along, that's the model we want to support.
No, I agree. No, I believe, in fact, this is crazy. when I was with YWAM, we used to do these set up bookstores for the military at these conferences.
Oh, okay.
And so one time we were in this town, I don't remember where it was, we were doing a conference, and all of a sudden in walked these 4 Iranians. They're looking around and they're going through all their stuff. And so I started talking to these guys and I said, wow, welcome, what are you doing here? And I said, oh yes, we're interested, look at your stuff, and, okay, well, you know this is a Christian bookstore, right? Yes. Well, I mean, you don't have any Christians in Iran, do you? He said, oh, yes, we have them. Really? You have churches? Yes, we have churches. Well, wait a minute, that's not what I had. Oh, no, we have them. He said, they're just not allowed to publicly talk to others, but they're allowed to meet, and they're allowed to so they have Christians, and they have, oh, wow. That's interesting. So I didn't know that. So apparently there are still Christians and churches in Iran.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah. In fact, the historic center of what was at one time the biggest Christian denomination, if you will, is the Assyrian Church of the East. At the time of Marco Polo, it had more members than the Orthodox and Roman Catholic combined. And their headquarters was in what was at one time called Nineveh. Modern day, we call it Mosul, northern Iraq. And about 8% of the Iraqi population, when we went to war to get rid of Saddam, about 8% were Christian in Iraq.
That's actually Persia. That's not Assyria. Assyria is where Turkey.
Well, I know. I'm saying it was called the Assyrian Church of the East, way back in the 2nd century. Yeah, that's what
right,
it must
have been spread, but
right.
Okay.
But in the headquarters, modern day, is Mosul. Now ISIS took it out. I mean, the original cathedrals were wiped out by ISIS, but anyway, we are down rabbit trails now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But anyway, Iran. I'm sorry. You're right. Iraq. Yeah. No, I'm talking about Iran.
Yeah.
That's further east.
Mm-hmm.
So in Iran, but they're the ones that are under the Ayatollahs and everything, and so they're really suffering. But it was a real surprise that for me that Iran, as heavily regulated everything is under the Ayatollahs and everything, that Iran would still have Christian churches in it. And so, it's
a lot of Christians left when the Shah was deposed. Right. Because prior to that, 1979, Iran was considered one of the more moderate Islamic nations.
Yeah. So. But anyway, bottom line right now, please pray for the situation in Israel, in that whole region there, and we'll have to see how everything plays out. It's interesting, the one saving grace, the one nation that may step in and actually help Israel, and I believe they just might, for their own protection and their own safety, might be Egypt. Egypt actually has been more of an ally to Israel in some ways than the United States.
Yeah, because they don't like Hamas anymore.
Right. No, they don't. And so you will have that, and in the southern, maybe Italy and Greece and some of those nations, which are more, I think they're more inclined to help Israel than they would be to help Ukraine. Because I think they see a greater threat from the south than they do from the north. Yeah. But anyway, it's a tough situation.
I do have another thing I want to say. One report today talked about this may have finally gotten its last push for this attack to happen because of Netanyahu's speech at the United Nations, where he celebrated normalization with Saudi Arabia. And Iran and their allies, Hezbollah and Hamas, cannot tolerate there to be peace in the Middle East. It doesn't help them.
Yeah.
if Saudi Arabia normalizes everything, and now they're working on this communication, this pipeline, all these things going on, all this commerce and economic development between Arabs and Jews, this is going to be, you know, a big thing. And there are people who are not benefited by peace and prosperity. Hello, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, you know, the race baiters. You know, they can't stand for racism to go away. And this Middle East thing is just another form of racism, right? It's just, you know, the hated Jews. Why? Because they're Jews.
Yeah, but the problem is, on the other side, you know, you've got, as I was telling you, what was being pitched at Typros was that the racism was from the Jews.
Oh, it's always the Jews' fault, yeah.
Towards the Palestinians. So, yeah, I mean, it's to whoever's advantage it is.
You should have heard. I pulled up Al Jazeera US this morning. I tolerated about 15 seconds of it. And they're talking about the liberation of the oppressed that's going on right now. They're liberating the oppressed.
Well, what's really funny is if you watch MSNBC, it might as well be
Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera, yeah. I mean, it's the same. They're on there talking about, oh, Israel is the bad Israel attacking, you know, this isn't real, this isn't really happening. You know, I mean, MSNBC is just driving a nail into their own coffin. But, of course, they will have their typical black, you know, what do you call them, sympathizers on there championing this stuff, because that's where the money comes from. You just follow the money trail. And Joy Reid, or as I call Joyless Reid, and all of the others.
The talking gorilla?
Yeah.
And that was Eddie who said that first. I just keep reminding him.
I don't remember. I just remember calling her Joe Reid. I don't know. but they just continue to go after anything that the right supports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's their deal.
All right.
And so, anyway, but yeah, we do need to support Israel. And remember, a Jew is not a Jew because they say they're a Jew, or somewhere down the line somebody was a Jew in their family, or they converted to Judaism. Okay, if they don't believe in the tenets of Judaism, they're not a Jew.
Well, the Apostle Paul went further.
And he went further, exactly.
Yeah.
What's a real Jew?
He says, who are the real circumcised? The circumcised of heart.
Right.
And that. Before you go on to another topic.
Romans 2, by the way, if you want to look that up.
There you go. Yeah. Before you go on another topic, can you reach up there and grab a book off the top of that stack?
One of these?
That is the brand new cover. I have not seen that.
It's been around here. I used to have them right here.
That's right, you did.
It's the same.
Okay, well, hey, it was a cheap plug opportunity. Okay. If you don't have the new cover...
It looks pretty cool like that.
It does.
Yeah, my old secretary.
See, I just, now that you showed me the front, okay, I see it. Get the book. Eddie, I tell you what, Eddie, it's Eddie without the rambling because it's edited. Edited Eddie.
The Cliff Notes.
No, it's good. He puts together his thoughts in a very cohesive way.
Wow. Imagine. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk
it? It is good.
I could have coherent thoughts. That's my problem. I have so many thoughts. That's why it took me 30 years to 30 years to take all of those thoughts and whittle them down into 200 pages.
Yeah, but we're doing this live, and sometimes no, what was the guy's name? See, you don't get that in a book. Let me think about it. And then 3 pages later, oh yeah, his name was such and such. You know?
Oh yeah, on page 98, that was. Yeah, no, it's not really like that.
Right.
But
when you're doing live, you don't get to go back and correct mispronunciations and stumblings in that. Yeah. So it is good. I'm waiting for him to do an audiobook.
For these purists, by the way, when we had the new cover done, because you remember this.
That's right.
This is the original cover.
Yeah.
See, these are.
Yeah.
And we had a new cover done, but the guy we did it when he sent it in, he made some grammatical error, like punctuation, and they sent it in without it being proofed, and left it on there. So for purists who get upset by those type of things, we still have some of the originals.
Yeah. See, I like the one on the website, the one with your picture in the front.
Oh, well.
No.
This one has the picture.
No, I'm talking about the one I did.
Oh, the one you did with the picture on the front. Oh, you wanted my picture on the front. How many books do you know that have the author's photo on the front? I did have a lot of space here. This could have been my entire mug right here.
There's some very vain authors who can't get enough of seeing their own picture.
Here, picture this. Anyway.
Yeah.
But, by the way, it's amazing how many nostalgic historical films and TV shows are out now. The Viking ones, and then you're going back into the Rome and those type of things. And I think that's what people are longing for when men were men and women weren't. That's what I think people are missing.
Yeah, I've got a niece who's an author with Bethany House, writes women's, historical, slightly a little bit romantic kind of stuff, and was hanging out with her and her husband and the kids, last month, and they were just, there is such a demand for those Pioneer Day books, and that the kind of when the roles were pretty clear.
I'll tell you one of the greatest series I ever read. My wife and I read it in the 80s. Christian author Bodhi Thaney. Do you remember her?
No, I don't.
Yeah, Bodhi Thaney. It was the Jerusalem Covenant or Jerusalem Chronicles, and there were like I think there were 4 series, and they were the Vienna. It was the Vienna Covenant, the Jerusalem Chronicles, and there were like a series of 4, and there were like 7 books in each series, but they were all the same. And it took place during the first 3, I believe. The first 2 or the first 3 in the series took place from just before World War II all the way through World War II, and then the last one went back to just after World War I. And she was from Arkansas, so it went back to Arkansas and kind of her history. But man, those are some of the best books. Bodhi Thaney, Thone. If you get a chance, look them up. You can probably get them at a bargain these days because they're like 30 years old now. But my wife loaned them to somebody, and the person never gave them back. I don't loan my books.
Yeah.
Go buy them. I tell them, if you really want to read it, you'll go buy it.
Yep.
I tell them about it. But anyway, no, those are great books, and the Vienna Covenant was the first one, and it starts with the girl on a train, and it basically happened just before Kristallnacht. Those that don't know what Kristallnacht is, it's the night when Hitler gave the word to attack the Jews.
To vandalize the shops.
Right, and they broke the glass. Kristall basically is glass, and they just broke all the windows and destroyed all of the Jewish stores and shops and started terrorizing the Jews. And it started essentially the Nazi purge there in Germany. And then it goes downhill from there. And then the whole series then goes all the way through World War II. And the final one is when they end up in Israel getting its independence. And then actually ends up in the fight for Israel's independence. But they're historical fiction.
Eddie's reading list. Yep.
Yeah, back when I used to read. But anyway, speaking of nostalgia, those series, if anybody ever did a film films or a TV series. That if that went on Netflix, it would be one of the greatest. It would really, if they did it right, it would be a great series. So I don't know if anybody's ever been interested, but it would be an incredible series. Hey, Dave, we should probably move on. But anyway, this is no small thing, everybody. Call your neighbors, call your friends, call whomever, but seriously, pray. Pray for Israel, pray for the world, because this is critical. This is because there's a bulletin in Netanyahu has declared war now after Hamas's attack.
And unfortunately, this is following very much like what we saw with the Yom Kippur in 73. Israel was caught unprepared.
Right.
And they did the same thing this time when you actually have, according to my neighbors here at the synagogue, 2 holy days, one right after another, that both call for a Sabbath rest. So the Orthodox Jews who have been made exempt from serving in the military, the Orthodox Jews in Israel, you're fighting against their ideology that don't want you to pick up a gun to fight back.
Right.
And, and then you've got people, the secular Jews who live over there, who were busy on holiday. I mean, anytime there's some religious thing, it's just our excuse to go to the beach in Tel Aviv, right?
Boy, doesn't that sound familiar?
Yeah, yeah.
4th of July.
Prosperity tends to do that.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, yeah, it does. Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't changed the names.
Yeah.
Of the holidays.
Or switch them to the first Monday.
right, or something like that.
And, this is a crazy thing. I remember when I worked retail for a family-owned business, the two sons were taking over, and I always worked side by side with them. But as soon as they had me in there, they quit closing for Labor Day. They just had the assistant managers and the weekend help just work Monday and stuff, and the boss took off for Labor Day and just let the employees run the deal. And I'm like, hello, what is Labor Day supposed to be about? Is it time to honor your workers or time to kiss the boss's feet?
Yeah. See, that's what happens. That's what happens. Yeah. No, you can't thrive. You can't go on like this. And so far, Joe Biden has not come out condemning the attacks. He has basically, or let's put it this way, he has condemned the attacks tepidly. But tepidly. But he is not, and he says we're against it, we don't like it, but he has not volunteered any help or support for Israel.
They didn't. All they said is Israel has a right to defend herself.
Right.
And that's it. In other words, they're saying, go arrest them and give them, the right to a trial, the right to remain silent, and treat it like it's a civil unrest thing instead of an all-out war.
Right. Or like we support Israel's right to defend itself, and we will send them whatever they need for this. Yeah.
You remember when, we were fighting against the Taliban and the terrorists that were with Al-Qaeda, and we brought them over to Guantanamo Bay. And the ACLU went to court saying, well, they should have a right to all of our, civil rights, our First, Fifth Amendment and all that. And they're like, no, this is war.
Again, here's my theory of the whole deal, okay? Okay. We are running out of ammunition to send to Ukraine.
Yeah.
This all ties together. If you really want to look at the big picture, okay? So, what's happening? Iran was sending arms to Russia. Iran was supporting Russia. So what do? We secretly, behind closed doors, meet with Iran because Iran was giving Russia the drones. They were giving them arms and all of this support. So what Biden does, okay, we'll make a deal. You quit supporting Russia. we'll release your hostages, or you release our hostages, I'm sorry, we'll release some of yours, we'll give you $6 billion, and we won't stand in your way if you attack Israel. We'll back up, but you quit supporting Russia. It makes us look good. We can now look good in Europe, in the war in Europe, and not just the U.S., but all of Europe, and can look good. Nobody likes those Jews anyway. So we'll give you them, but we have to beat Russia.
Yeah.
That's our enemy. Yeah. It's a fool's deal. I mean, they don't know what they're doing. That shows how stupid this administration is. How totally ignorant this administration is.
Yeah, so here's what we're doing. Biden's people are saying no American arms, no American weapons are being given to Ukraine. Right. What they're doing is they're telling Poland, okay, we will restockpile you if you give your stuff to Ukraine. And then they're saying to Ukraine, okay, here's the money to go pay Poland for those weapons.
And we're going to Iran to tell them, you stop giving your arms to Russia to try to starve Russia out of weapons.
And Poland is supposed to be fooled by all this. I mean, not Poland, Putin.
Yeah,
Putin's supposed to be fooled by this.
Yeah, they don't have an intelligence organization.
That's another thing I want to say. Thank you. Two things. One or the other happened here. Our CIA is now defunct and no longer operating in the Middle East because Netanyahu has to wonder, where are our American friends in CIA intelligence to warn us of this? Or worse, we did know about it and we encouraged it and kept Netanyahu and the Israelis in the dark.
I'm going to say the first.
I want to believe the first, and that's bad enough.
I think they're so paranoid that all of our intelligence today, internal, domestic, and international, has been turned to domestic, worrying about domestic terrorists, those Christian, conservative, Trump supporters.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if that were true, it would be violating federal law, the Pax Comitatus.
Well, who's going to prosecute it? Because they all are on the same page.
Yeah.
This judge in the Trump trial, the guy who's laughing for the cameras there in New York. Who knows?
I'm saying the CIA is not supposed to operate on American soil.
Exactly. But NSA, we know from Snowden that the NSA was spying on Americans.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, there's a multitude of different agencies that are all spying.
There's that big word, not supposed to.
Yeah.
All right, or it's two words, not supposed to. I guess the word is not.
Right.
And someone dropped that word out of it.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, and thank you for spurring that thought, because there are just so many sub-themes on this story.
Yeah.
And it's where was our intelligence to warn us? Because this was not some small cell.
We don't have any intelligence from the top down. It's gone. That's the tragedy. And that's the danger we're in. That's why we have got to take back the government. Yeah. We have got to take back the White House. We have got to take back Congress, or keep Congress. Yeah. And we need the Senate. We need the full gamut and the Supreme Court to make this happen.
Yeah, but the American voter has got to decide one of two things. Either the Biden administration is total incompetence, or worse, they are the enemy.
They're corrupt. I've made up my mind. I'm not the total American voter, but I'm a big chunk of it. The Biden administration is totally corrupt. And here's the question I have, though, what I don't understand about not just the Biden administration or the Democrat Party. Who are they working for, other than Satan himself? Mm-hmm. And it's not a joke. I mean, honestly, it's not a joke, because I cannot understand who benefits from the destruction of the United States of America.
Because if you're an atheist liberal, are you really supporting the furtherance of Islam? No, you're not. But it's a tool to take down the United States.
Now, there is one thing. I came across this several years ago, this idea. I wrote this article. I used to preach this in churches. And I always go back to 2 Chronicles 20, where Jehoshaphat had just run for his life. And he had escaped back, and Israel was it was a divided kingdom. It was a northern and southern. And Ahab was the king of the north, and he was the king of the south. Okay. And so Jehoshaphat, Ahab, by the way, ended up being killed, and that was the end of the northern kingdom.
No, it's not the same Ahab that went after Moby Dick.
No. Yeah, no.
Okay.
So Israel was no more. It destroyed the northern kingdom of Israel. Okay, it was no more, and has never been heard from in history again. Nobody ever knows. The Assyrians destroyed it and dispersed it, and there's no more northern kingdom. And Judah was it. What we know of Israel today really is only the southern kingdom of the old Israel. So anyway, a little history lesson there. But so anyway, so Jehoshaphat escapes with his life, goes back, and he realizes, I'm in deep doo-doo. So he gathers all the people together, the priests and everything, called a fast for the whole nation. Men, women, and children, they all come before the Lord and fast and pray, and they confess before the Lord and ask, Lord, here's where we are. We're up against enemies, 3 of them, Edom, Moab, and Ammon, and we don't know what to do, but our eyes are on you. Yeah. That's the famous thing and then God tells them to put the army together, but in front of them he wants the singers and musicians.
Ah, yes.
And so they march out and they sing, thanks unto the Lord, for he is good. His mercy endures forever. Yeah. And God wins the victory as they march out, they go over this hill, and the 3 enemies turn on each other and kill each other.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, so I think, and I was coming up with the thought of, we have 3 enemies against us in America right now. And believe it or not, guess what? None of them are Russia or China.
Oh.
No, it's number 1 is Islam.
Okay.
Number 2 is secular humanism.
Yep.
The guys who don't want to believe in anything, basically just hate God. And third is the syncretism.
What is that?
Syncretism is taking, wanting to make a universal religion. It's all good. All roads lead to the same path.
Visualize world peace.
Yes, visualize. Yes. All roads lead to the same place.
Say no to hate.
Yeah, God is love.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So,
brought to you by the University
of Universalism.
Unitarian.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 real enemies of
and they're all spiritual attacks.
Yeah. Those are the 3. Those are the Edom, Moab, and Ammon today. And so, my focus is on us through prayer, through fasting, and praise. Defeating those 3 to where they attack each other. Yeah. And they will destroy each other. Because what happened, as soon as let's say, their enemy right now is Christianity and the faith in God. So Islam is attacking Christianity. Secular humanism is attacking Christianity. Secular humanism, syncretism is attacking Christianity, the faith in the one true God.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing: if Islam ever did win, so they're allied. Like that's why. What caused me to think about this is why would all these take the Unitarian Church and these secular people want to support Islam, cause Christians to
show how big they are.
Right, but not really. It's because the common enemy is the Christian, right? The friend of my enemy is my friend. It's their hate, yes. Right. Or the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I know. They say they're motivated by love, but the truth is they're motivated by hate.
Exactly. They hate Christianity so much that they love the other guys. And the secular humanists like them, the syncretists like them because they're against them. But as soon as Christianity is taken care of, they will focus on the next one. Mm-hmm. Now we got rid of them. Now we're going to get rid of you and you and you. See, that's how it works. And that's exactly what would happen here. If they did rid the nation of the Christian influence, they would turn on each other like rabid dogs. And what we have to do as Christians, unite and pray spiritually that they turn on each other like Edom, Moab, and Ammon beforehand.
Yeah, so
that's the spiritual battle.
Yeah, when you started listening to these things, I started coming up with my own speculation of what the three might be. And I was a little bit fooled, and then I realized, no, you're identifying the enemy by motivation, who it is. But they use tools such as hedonism, greed, a whole bunch of things, laziness. I mean, a bunch of stuff. I remember
sports.
Well, yeah, anything.
Entertainment.
Well, so I remember seeing a clip of this movie. I forget the name of it, but in its European setting, is a family traveling, and they're staying in this dumpy hotel, and there happens to be a socialist staying in the hotel, and he's talking to their daughter and trying to convince her to get involved in pornography. And she's saying, why would you as a socialist want me to do that? And he says, well, it would further advance and escalate the movement to socialism. And then she said, and what happens when socialism takes over? Well, then pornography will be a thing of the past. So they want to use it, and then they want to prohibit it.
That's why communism fostered pornography. They were supporting pornography because they know it'll bring a society down. But then as soon as that, they attack a society with the pornography and destroys it, they come in and outlaw it.
Right. And the Soviet Union has always been one of the biggest proponents of the conservationism in the United States, Sierra Group, and all this Sierra Club, and all these things to try to hinder capitalism. Using pollution is the big concern, and fracking. Fracking was completely a Russian disinformation thing. And then when the Soviet Union fell, and the West had free access, and you saw the worst pollution in the world was in the Soviet bloc states. And so the things that they're trying to get us to feel terrible about ourselves for, they're worse. So, I mean, China's got some of the worst pollution.
Oh, yeah.
And
and the Chinese are some of the most sexually deviant people in the world. I mean, they're into the whole elephant and rhinoceros tusk aphrodisiac stuff.
I don't think I want to know what that is, Eddie.
Oh, I don't either.
Okay.
I only champion the virtues of testosterone. I don't know anything about elephant and rhinoceros tusks. But no, one of the main reasons for the hunting of elephant tusks and rhinoceros tusks is the Chinese.
Oh, okay.
Yet at the same, and it's supposed to be for the aphrodisiac, what do you call it, benefit or whatever. I mean, that's what I've read and heard for years. This has been going on.
Okay.
But it just, and yet they are these crackdown on civil order and regulating everything in the lives of their people. And but anyway, those are the three things: Islam, secular humanism and New Age syncretism.
Yeah, and that syncretism, that I identify that as, by another word, ecumenicalism. The ecumenical movement.
Well,
I see that in
there's a little difference in ecumenicalism, and that is ecumenicalism is more, if you took the traditional religions, you know, Catholic, Protestant, Anglican, Methodist, and so forth, at least they still have a belief in the one God, whereas the syncretism takes Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, it's all one. All roads lead to the same path.
I get it. And I'm just saying, if you're into syncretism, you might be funding ecumenicalism as a step towards where you want to go.
Yeah, it's probably, yeah. If you get to the point where you think that there's no difference, you'll start there. Mm-hmm. It's like drug abuse. You know when they say once you smoke a joint, then the next thing, you know, it's just a step towards morphine and heroin and crack.
Yeah, a good example of what I'm talking about is a pretty prominent evangelical leader here 20 years ago, Carlton Pearson, is now at All Souls Unitarian.
Yeah, but I don't think there was anything ecumenical about Carlton. I think he just jumped. He just went from one Pentecostalism.
Yeah, that was a big leap. A big leap.
He just made the
But yeah, I'm just saying, people. It's just, oh yeah, you know, what does it matter? You
right,
know,
but see, I don't want to get to the point to say that if a Catholic priest and a Baptist decide to come together, or for example, remember there's this Catholic priest and a rabbi used to have this radio show.
Oh, sure. I think they still do so.
Yeah, and they dealt with real.
I think they're called the God Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they both were devout, God-loving, God-fearing men.
Yeah.
And in fact, still today they're on Fox, I think, in different shows.
Right.
And they're all basically uphold the same.
Right. They had a fellowship, but they both respected each other's individual beliefs.
Exactly.
Yes.
Whereas, and that would I say would be more of an ecumenicalism versus, you know, just.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Whereas syncretism is basically, I'm going to incorporate your idol worship into my worship. Jesus plus.
Yeah.
That's where I think that's the bottom line.
I believe that's universalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I can worship the trees. I can do that. But yeah. Universalism is basically syncretism. That's what it is.
Gotcha. Okay.
So anyway, now that we've established that, let's move on to something else that I came across. A Saudi Arabian firm. I didn't realize this, but they have got, who knew, they own these hundreds of acres of farmland in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
So, do you remember, was it last week that we talked about?
They love deserts, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there's no desert because they've got all this farmland. It's rich, lush farmland. But
you think Arizona, you think desert.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But anyway, it's farmland.
Okay.
And in northern, you know,
that's true.
Yeah. So Katie Hobbs was missing, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they found her, and so she had actually been in D.C. to meet with Biden.
That's right. We talked about it last week a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
So she didn't want to be seen with Biden.
Right, that's what, yeah.
But she met with Biden. Well, maybe one of the reasons she wanted to meet with Biden, or Biden wanted to meet with her, this Saudi firm grows hay, and they grow it in California and in Arizona. Well, so what Katie Hobbs has done this week after her meeting, they took away the leases, or want to take away the leases from these farms from the Saudis. They're being challenged in court as to the legality of being able to do that. But here's my thinking. What I think is going on is, and why I think they called her to meet with Biden, is to use this as leverage for oil. It's hay for oil. So they're saying it's because they're using too much water, and water is precious in Arizona, and there's, all kinds of things. But really, the real thing is Saudi is cutting off the oil.
That's right. Biden asked them to increase, and they said no.
Right.
Yeah.
So now Biden is trying to turn the screws on this end, saying no oil, no hay.
So were you saying they were growing hay here to take back?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, they're growing. They've got these hay farms, hundreds of acres, maybe thousands, in Arizona and in California.
Yeah.
And the hay here then is being shipped to Saudi Arabia. And so Biden is saying no oil, no hay.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to use that as leverage. And he's just, it's so stupid. I mean, everything he does ends up backfiring. He's not using his head, and he doesn't need to do this, right? He doesn't need to do this. What he needs to do is basically just let our natural oil people drill. Then Saudi, the oil prices will fall, and Saudi Arabia will ask to be able to ship oil again to us and everybody else because their demand will grow, and they'll need to do it. Right now, they can hold back and send less for more. I mean, it just drives me nuts that these people are so, again, stupid with a capital S. And it's like you've got children running the country thinking that they're smart.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I tell you, when you see government politicians going after industries, the first thing I ask myself is, did those industries not pay off politicians to be left alone? We'll get into it a little bit more when we talk about the McCarthy story, because McCarthy was a genius at collecting money and spreading it around.
Yeah. Let me cover two quick things then before that, then, because these actually, one is today is the 100th anniversary of a player named Jack Trice. Jack Trice is the name of the Iowa State football stadium.
Okay.
Excuse me. And Jack Trice Stadium is Iowa State's football stadium.
Yeah.
In 1923, Jack Trice was the first black football player ever to play at Iowa State.
How about that?
1923.
Yeah.
In fact, he may be, I didn't go deep enough, but he may be the first black player ever to play college football anywhere. But anyway, at a university.
Yeah.
But anyway, but here's the really kind of bad side of it, and it comes back to you. He was killed or died as a result of injuries he sustained on August 5th of 1923 against University of Minnesota.
Oh, yeah. Wow, killed on the playing field.
Killed on the playing field. And what apparently happened, he tried to make a tackle. He was making a tackle, but he got hit, and apparently it cracked his rib.
Yeah.
And so he was injured, but he continued to play. But then apparently 3 Minnesota players came back and trampled on that spot where he was hit.
So he hemorrhaged.
He hemorrhaged and died of that a few days later.
Now, I have to say, I didn't play that game. I was born 38 years later, so. But Eddie tried.
I just want to say, your beloved state,
the Gophers.
The Gophers,
yeah.
Minnesota Gophers.
Yeah.
It's funny the things we don't find out until years later.
I know. I had no idea. I always thought, the Gophers always stunk when I was a kid. And I find out in the 40s, they won national championships 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
They used to actually be good at something.
Yeah, like killing Negroes.
Well, in Iowa State, listen, Minnesotans always like to pick fun of Iowans, and so I always joke back. I have this little thing that sounds like a criticism of Iowa, but it backfires. I say, you know why Iowa doesn't have a Major League Baseball team? Because then Minnesota will want one. Because the Twins stink most years. By the way, they're in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
Twins are. Yeah, I think they still are. They won their first playoff game this week. Yeah.
Well, a bit of football history. Jack Trice Stadium in Iowa. Mm-hmm. So I mean that's interesting because what many of you may also not know is that George Washington Carver, even 20 years, maybe 10 years earlier, 20 years earlier, attended Iowa State before he went to Tuskegee Institute.
Yeah, and also defend Minnesotans, and actually is a family of mine. My wife's great grandfather was a Carter, started the medical school at Iowa State, a Minnesotan.
Trying to rehab.
That's right. I got it. My wife would want me to say.
You just implicated yourself even more. Made yourself.
Right. But I'm just saying.
He's a great. That puts him back. That puts him right back into
one of the buildings there. The stadium's named Trice, another is Carter, which is my wife's family. Okay.
Hey, by the way, something that kind of relates to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It just popped up here on my screen. Do you know who Enes Kanter is?
Yes.
You remember played for the Thunder, right?
Mm-hmm.
He added something to his name.
Freedom.
Yeah, Enes Kanter, freedom. He condemns the unprecedented attack on Israel, and he's a Muslim. Mm-hmm. He's a Muslim. He
is an antagonist of the president of Turkey, though.
Right.
They hate him. They want him dead. I think they put a price on his head.
Yeah. He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yes.
And listen, I want people to understand. Okay, people think that because we're Christians that we hate Muslims.
Yeah.
We do not.
No.
I have clients. I have friends. I'm very good. I'm pen pals with a Pakistani Muslim that I communicate with.
And as I often say to Eddie, some of my best friends are black. Sorry. I couldn't help myself.
That are the Islamic faith.
Uh-huh.
And we discuss these things, and we have discussions over our faith.
Yeah.
But these are very fine people.
There are people of goodwill all over the world.
Exactly. So these are when we talk about Hezbollah, what's the other one?
Hamas.
Mm-hmm. All of these.
Hamas.
You need a cleaner. You need and just you name them. Okay, Al Qaeda, all those names. There are bad people. Christian identity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We don't identify with them.
Yeah.
They give us a bad name. So, but ultimately, we pray for our friends of the different faiths.
Yes.
Okay. It'd be like discussing Mormonism. Okay. We don't agree with Mormonism. Let's say even Judaism as a faith is half right. Mm-hmm. We have nothing against Jews or the people of Israel. We love the people of Israel. We pray for the people of Israel. We think Judaism is the faith of Jesus Christ. The problem is he came to fulfill the prophecies of Judaism. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we believe that traditional Jews have just not fulfilled the calling. Mm-hmm. That Jesus was the fulfillment of that faith. So don't mistake when we speak out against the Palestinians or Jordanians or Syrians or you name them, Iraqis, Iranians. As I said, I had a great conversation with these Iranian. These were actual Iranian citizens that came into our Christian bookstore, and we had a great talk. And, I mean, these are nice guys. I was just shocked. I was expecting some, radical Iranian terrorists or, but these were business guys and very nice, had a great talk. They weren't mean, antagonistic to us, and they knew it was, you had Jesus all over the store.
Yes.
And yet we were able to talk rationally, and they were interested. In fact, they even bought a couple of things that they had to smuggle back to their country.
Yeah.
Because, they can't take this overt Christian literature back.
Sure.
And we prayed that they would, through the purchase of these items, be able to find faith.
Yeah.
So I do want to get that out there and make it clear. But anyway, Eric Cantor Freedom, he condemns the attack on Israel.
Yeah. And I want to say, Eddie, you're making a great point here. I just want to elaborate a little bit more. For you, fundamentalists or devout, staunch Christians who just won't have anything to do with somebody that doesn't, hold your creed yet. Read Acts 10. Read about a Roman named Cornelius and how Peter met with, first of all, Jesus had to get a hold of him in a vision on a rooftop. And Peter's the one who had to get his religion squared away. And so there are people of goodwill and good faith. Cyrus. Read the Old Testament and find out what Cyrus did to restore Israel as a nation. And he was not a Jew.
Cyrus, Darius,
yes,
Nebuchadnezzar.
Yes.
There's a whole list.
God will use people who don't hold your creed in your jingles.
Donald Trump.
Yes.
To me, Donald Trump is Nebuchadnezzar. He is Nebuchadnezzar all the way, and yet you have these dug-in Christians. And what's funny to me, though, is so many of the ones these Republicans, the Lincoln Project and these others that are just so rabidly anti-Trump that they don't even see what fools they make of themselves.
Yeah, this is what I call nativism. Are you enough of what we are? Are you American enough? And if you read about the life of Solomon and the great prosperity and wonderful the growth in Israel, it says, and God made even his enemies to be at peace with him. God can do that. Mm-hmm. And listen, if God's making them of a heart want to be at peace with you, don't go stirring up trouble.
No.
Don't go calling names. when I was running Santorum's Oklahoma campaign, I had Mormons working in our campaign, and I'd have other Bible thumpers come in and say, well, we got to stop that Mitt Romney because he's Mormon. We got to, and Mormonism is a call. And I'm like, whoa, out the door. I said, I got Mormons in here. You start criticizing their faith. I want to keep them even if I have to kick you out. Yeah,
it turns out Mormonism was the least around it.
But you see, people would just,
I remember, yeah. Oh, take Tulsi Gabbard now.
Yeah.
She's a Buddhist. How can you, or Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
Dr. Oz is a Muslim, apparently.
Yeah.
So I think he's phenomenal.
Or Vivek.
Yeah, Vivek. Yeah, Vivek, who went to Catholic school.
Yeah.
He grew up.
But he's Hindu back here. No, can't hear it.
And I actually by the way, I want to address that. Okay, he's a monotheistic Hindu. Yep. A monotheistic Hindu is essentially a Baptist.
Or I will put him in the camp of Socrates, who believes there's one God.
Right.
But I'm still trying to understand more about him.
Right.
Yeah.
Essentially, here's what a monotheistic Hindu is. Mm-hmm. They believe that there's one universal God who created all things, and that these other gods that they talk about are angels. That's what a monotheistic
Yeah.
Hindu is. They believe in one God and angels.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. Who else believes that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jews. Who else?
Yeah.
Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, and so on. You could Seventh-day Adventists. Yeah. The only thing missing is what?
Jesus. Yeah.
And so, a monotheistic Buddhist, Hindu, is pretty much like a lot of these other faiths that are not Buddhist, Hindu, or whatever. Let's put it this way. They're a lot closer than your universalists and these other syncretistic religions. So, come on, people. Let it go. Plus, as Jerry Falwell said, and I loved it, I'll never forget this line, the greatest line ever. Jerry Falwell has to be, to me, one of the most brilliant Jerry Falwell Sr., one of the most brilliant theologians, pastors I will ever in my lifetime come across. He has a statement, I'm not voting for a pastor, I'm voting for a president.
Yeah. And I would just say this, the Apostle Paul said, for now we see in part, we know in part. In other words, he's saying, I don't know everything, I'm still learning. And folks, if you think you know more than the Apostle Paul, then you can make judgments on that, if you do. But I don't think you know more than the Apostle Paul.
I've got a really interesting tidbit here.
Yeah.
It just came across, this morning. Okay, just this last week.
Yeah.
I think it was University of Utah football team has a bye this week.
Yeah, they do.
So I think it was yesterday, one day this week, they brought the team out, and there on the football field were 85 brand new pickup trucks.
Really?
One brand new 2023 or 24 pickup trucks, one for every player on the team.
Wow.
And as Kirk Herbstreit said, this is what got the death penalty for the SMU football. And now they're openly, and they showed all these players just running crazy with keys in their hand. They're dancing, and it was the irony of it. I mean, it's just crazy when you think about it. Kirk, Herbie, you are so correct. I mean, the SMU program got the death penalty for less. Every player, 85-man team, got a brand new pickup truck.
I'm still waiting for
Reggie.
No, Eric Dickerson,
and
to finally come clean. He won't.
I thought he admitted it. I thought he didn't have to come clean. They came clean for him. I mean, they knew it happened. In fact, I thought there was a book written about it.
Years later, there's a documentary, and he said, I never admitted anything.
Well, I think by now, they have admitted him and the guy who...
yeah, it was a bunch of oil-rich guys from Dallas. We got to get us a football team. Here's
what's funny. SMU got caught. OU never did. I guarantee you, OU...
They did get some penalties.
OU spent multiples of what SMU spent. The difference was OU was smarter about it, and their players were probably just a little more.
And look,
cautious.
Barry Switzer really openly advocated. He said, we got to have some way so these guys can afford quarters for the laundromat because they can't even wash their clothes.
Yeah, but it was a little more than quarters.
I understand that, but he made an argument that we can't go with the status quo.
Oh, no, I agree. I think... I can't remember our previous shows, but I think I told the Tim Gill story.
Yeah.
I mean, that was ridiculous what went in.
Oh, he's hurting.
And I prophesied basically years back in the 90s that the day would come when we would have the pay situation for players.
It was tough.
There's no way you could stop it.
Oh, he came to me for a job. I remember last week. He's not from a wealthy family, and Tim Gill, and but he quit after a week. I said, why? Because he was doing fine. He says, it's taken away from my basketball practice. And the guy just loved basketball. And this was just as like a 16, 17-year-old. He was still at Victory at the time. And then all of a sudden I see, wow, he's a top basketball player in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, he definitely could have made the pros. He ended up damaging his ankle that scene. I mean, everything, it's just like everything went downhill. It was like so crazy that, and I mean, honestly, I think that certain coach and the media here in Tulsa are partially responsible for that. Now, Tim's a Christian kid and a man, and he has dealt with it. He's doing well. Beautiful kids, the whole 9 yards. He's a great guy. I mean, great guy, and never looked back. And if you meet him today, he'll say, yeah, you were right. I probably should have chosen differently initially out of high school, but I don't think he regrets his life.
Yeah. So, I just remember those great rivalries with Valparaiso in those days at ORU.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Homer's boys, who now coach at Baylor and at Grand Canyon. Bryce, the shooter, at Grand Canyon, and his little brother ended up winning national championship at Baylor in basketball. So, yeah. But, yeah, those were great days. Man, I'm just chomping a bit to go on to this congressional story.
Yeah, I think I'm done. I think I've got everything.
All right. So, should I break it?
Break?
Okay. Says you know, unless you're living under a rock, that 8 hardcore conservative on the right Freedom Caucus members called to vacate the speakership, of the House of Representatives. Was just Kevin McCarthy, a very close friend of Mark Wayne Mullen, the fellow who sat in this chair. You interviewed him when he was running. And sure enough, the Democrats all piled on with, but Kevin McCarthy is no longer Speaker. This happened Tuesday. And my God, I was expecting fist fights to break out. And some of them may have, behind closed doors. And all of a sudden, it's in disarray and stuff. And then, within hours, our dear friend Kevin Hearn, congressman from Tulsa, said, there are a number of people asking me to run. I think I'm willing to look at it. And so all of a sudden, all kinds of names popped up. And by Thursday, we were down to 3 main runners in it. There was Scalise from Louisiana, who's right now the number 2 guy under Kevin McCarthy. Jim Jordan, who's actually come out here and helped both Bridenstine and Kevin Hearn in their re-election bids. And then Kevin. And I'm really impressed to find out just how broad of goodwill and trust the Republican Party in Congress has for Kevin Hearn. So that's where we were 2 days ago. Everybody's saying it's down to 3, and it probably will go beyond 1 ballot to get there.
You think so?
That's what was said on Thursday.
Oh, on Thursday, right.
Enter the Trump endorsement came in for Jim Jordan. And Trump at first was saying, you know what? You guys don't have to elect a sitting member of your Congress. It's up to you, and I'm willing to serve. And there were like 3 or 4 members of Congress openly called for Trump to be the Speaker. And then Trump decided, you know what? I'm going to endorse Jim Jordan. Jim's been by my side. We've been good allies. I'm going to support him. Well, this morning, literally about a half hour before we rolled tape today, Kevin Hearn announced, he says, I'm going to go ahead and step aside on this vote. And he said, we've got to unify this party. And right now, a 3-way fight which it would otherwise be. He said, I don't think it's helping us.
Right.
So, and what he didn't say, and he spoke on Newsmax to Rita Cosby on this. She got the scoop on it. I think he wants this. I don't think he wants to go to bed Tuesday night without knowing who the Republicans are putting up for Speaker. Or maybe they actually have the vote that night.
I think so.
And so he's simplifying the process, but I think broadly his Republican caucus probably has more respect for him now for stepping aside. Now, if it goes multiple ballots, they may convince him otherwise.
Right.
But I think, I personally, without him actually saying it, I think he really wants Jim Jordan, and I think he wants, I think he knew he was going to take more votes away from Jordan.
Who do you prefer?
It's a weighing of skill sets here. Who's the best administrative, CEO of the Republican brand? I would say Hearn. And I think the people he serves with believe that too.
No, I mean now of the two, with Hearn stepping out.
Okay, but then I'm going to my next. The thing that Jordan has is communication. He is awesome. Okay. The third thing, and this is the reason why people were most mad about McCarthy getting defeated. Nobody brought in the money for re-election like McCarthy. Not even Pelosi. McCarthy, it was typical that, the speaker would go out and he would raise a whole bunch of money and then distribute it. And he would buy supporters. Hey, let me help you in your race here, and when it comes time for speaker, we'll do it. That happens in the Oklahoma legislature. Why is it that the wealthiest man serving in a legislature happens to be the speaker? Charles McCall he's got his own private plane, right, or jet, I don't know what it is. But he throws the money around. And that's just one of the tools. And McCarthy didn't raise $50 million or $100 million. He raised $500 million.
Wow.
Nancy Mace, who voted against him, he gave her a raise $3 or $4 million, and she still voted against him.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, the retribution going on. We do need to talk about the Newt Gingrich call for kicking Matt Gaetz out of the House. But I just wanted to first give the narrative here of what just happened, literally bringing you up to the hour. Kevin Hearn is announcing now he is backing out so that it's a clear choice between two. Steve Scalise, who a lot of people are sympathetic for. Remember, he took a bullet from a rabid leftist who identified with Bernie Sanders. Literally an assassination attempt. Him and a bunch of Republican members of the congressional baseball team.
Right. As
they're practicing to take on the Democrats. So Scalise is seen sympathetic for that. But a lot of people are saying, hey, if McCarthy wasn't conservative enough, you're going to be disappointed with Scalise. He's not an ideologue. He will cut deals. And there's just some people who think we've cut too many deals and given away too much.
A funny thing that I saw yesterday, that they kicked Nancy Pelosi out of her office. Did you hear that?
That was the bow tie, the Pee Wee Herman guy, who is the interim speaker. I forget his name, but little guy. He was the one that when they were gaveled adjournment, it looked like he was trying to break the gavel. You talk about overcompensating, right? But is the little Pee Wee Herman guy. But he did do that. Well, here's the thing. That was kind of one of the traditions of when you leave the speaker but you're still in the House, they give you that. Well, that now is McCarthy's office, or going to be.
Right.
So he's making room for McCarthy. Yeah.
But she was not happy.
No, of course not. And now here's the thing. She didn't show up for the vote. She was not there. And what I found out in the press conference when McCarthy, after the vote, after he was kicked out, he said, I'm not going to try to regain the seat. He talked about how close he and Pelosi are. Their two House districts are not that far away.
No, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, they're right
He's
there.
Bakersfield. She's more in the San Francisco area. But that's not that far.
No.
And, and the two of them have colluded more than we knew. And we probably still don't know how much.
What's funny to me is that while only 8 were rebels and basically caused him to be ousted, it's funny after the fact how many others said, yeah, it was a good thing that he's gone. It's like jumping on after the fact, when they felt it was safe.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, it's good he's gone. He wasn't that, and I don't know. I don't like that. If you were good enough to say it's good that he's gone now, you should have been brave enough to step in and vote against him at the time. See, and that's the problem with the Republicans. I just, too many mealy-mouthed, wishy-washy flakes out there. It just, I don't know, they just bug me. By the way, OU is up 20-17. Right?
Yeah, I've been watching it too. I didn't want to say.
Of course, you guys will know the outcome. It's over, but except for you live people here on Facebook. But yeah, it's just too many wishy-washy, mealy-mouthed people. Ugh, it just drives me nuts.
But yeah, and I just want to say, a lot of the reason for people's loyalty for him is he kept bringing them money.
Yeah.
And listen. One of his McCarthy's first real close contacts about 10 years ago was our own Mark Wayne Mullen. That Henry Primo, friend of both of ours, was telling me one day he actually had a chance to have a dinner with Kevin McCarthy. McCarthy was already in leadership at that time.
I don't know if you heard McCarthy's exit speech.
Not a speech. I mean, I heard his press conference.
Well, his press conference.
Okay, yeah, I did.
I mean, it was like a speech.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great in his background, how he started and what he, and I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I had mixed emotions. I'm still not real sure whether it's the right thing, but I'm becoming more and more convinced that it was right for him to go because too many people now stepping forward saying that they didn't have confidence and so forth. So I think it will be good. It's just up to see now what the new speaker, whoever it may be.
Right.
Now, the thing I was shocked at is how ferociously Mark Wayne Mullen attacked him.
Yeah, and I was about to go into that.
Not attack Gaetz.
Right. I was about to go into that. I was trying to explain how close Mullen was to McCarthy from the beginning. And Henry was telling me, Henry Primo, local car dealer here, he said he was talking to Kevin McCarthy, and McCarthy would say, Mullen and I are very close in that. McCarthy gets up to go to the bathroom, and he comes back with his phone, and he said, well, I just called Mullen. I guess you weren't lying. And Henry's like, so those two guys, and right away Mullen becomes an assistant whip. Mm-hmm. He becomes part of that team. Now, keep in mind, that was the Paul Ryan team. And John Boehner was number 2, and then McCarthy was number 3.
Right.
And a lot of us who were really disappointed in Mullen because he was toting the line of Boehner and Paul Ryan. Mullen then became more independent. And a lot of us on the right here in Oklahoma felt like he really started improving his representation of our values here. And I really grew to respect Mullen a lot more as he gained his independence. Mm-hmm. But on a personal level, he and McCarthy were really close. In fact, do you remember, I don't know if it was his podcast with you or if it was with Trey Gowdy, but he talked about, that workout team, the CrossFit team that he did. Tulsi Gabbard was part of it. Cinema was in it. And McCarthy wasn't, but wanted to spar him. Wanted so bad. And then McCarthy, who's really tall, has got this huge reach, happens to get a lucky deal, and with the back of his pad, ripped his Velcro across Mullen's nose, his big old gash, bloody gash. And McCarthy still says, I took Mullen, and that was his claim to fame. I'm tougher than Mullen.
That's funny.
But those two guys are that close.
Yeah.
So with what happened this week, I need to preface what you're going to say about Mullen is Mullen really feels like a close dear friend to him got taken out.
Right. So
anyway, I'll go ahead with what
yeah. Thank you for that dissertation. But Gaetz is he's just weird. And, you hear one thing about him, and then you hear his side, and you hear that, like they're saying he was sending out fundraising letters, but then you hear him talk, and he doesn't accept any PAC money. He doesn't accept commercial donors. It's all individual money and everything, so forth. So he needs to be. And I remember I interviewed, before Mullen, who was the congressional rep from the 2nd District. Bourne. Okay. Dan Bourne.
Yeah.
I remember interviewing Dan Bourne.
Years ago.
Right, years ago. And Dan Bourne telling me how tough it is. He said the morning, because I interviewed him right after he got elected, reelected. And he was telling me, he said, Eddie, you don't know how tough it is. He said, the morning I woke up from being reelected, I have to start raising money again. And that's one reason he quit. He said he just was tired. He just couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And just continue fundraising. So that's, so to attack the guy for doing something that everyone's doing, like you said with Nancy Mace receiving $3 million from
Kevin's PAC.
Right. From that PAC. They're all doing it. So to attack Gaetz for doing what everybody's doing.
Well, he's going directly to the little guy,
right,
the individual.
Right, but what I'm saying, but to attack him, regardless of how he's doing it, it's a little disingenuous.
Yeah, it is.
Because everybody's doing it.
Right.
That would be, and then, but where Mark Wayne, I feel, stepped a little over the edge, he essentially called him a child molester.
That's what I wanted to get to.
That, I think, I wish Mark Wayne hadn't gone that far.
I think he's going to regret it. I think he's a big enough man that, given time, he will own it. And because, listen, Gaetz was blackmailed with a narrative that he literally stood up against it, and now that person who blackmailed him with that narrative is in prison.
Right, exactly.
And Mullen never said that.
Right.
He claims there's an ongoing investigation. He's throwing shade at him.
Right.
And Mark Wayne, you're a better Christian than. There we go.
All right.
We just had a power outage, folks.
Yeah. Before we were so rudely interrupted, I don't know what in the heck that was.
Doesn't Mark Wallen have an electrician work for you?
Yeah. Modern plumbing and electrical.
No, listen, you and I both think very highly of him.
Oh, yeah, he's a good friend, a close friend of mine. But, me, you can't be close enough, friend. If I'm going to call you out if there's anything I question. I mean, I love the guy and his family, but, I just think he went too far in publicly calling out, this is the stuff where you've got to deal with privately. Take the guy outside in a closet or some room and beat the crap out of him if you have to. Have it out there, or let him beat the crap out of you, whichever one, which I doubt he could do. But anyway, if you're going to have an issue, but have it privately. And you don't need to, because, see, this is, again, it brings me to the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. You know there are dirty Democrats. You know there are Democrats doing all kinds of stuff. Pelosi, her husband, and the stuff that's going on there. Schumer, A to Z, okay? From A to Z. Take the squad. I bet if anybody really pulled the curtain back on everything the squad is involved in or has been involved in, you can have enough to fill a criminal, book. But you will never know. You will never find it out because those mouths are hushed.
It was close. There was one time when Pelosi was getting into a little verbal tussle through the media with the squad. Rush Limbaugh talked about it because Donald Trump weighed in on it, backing Pelosi. And the crazy thing is, all of those women then joined ranks and came after Trump. And like, when the other side's fighting each other, you just get a bowl of popcorn and watch. Shut up.
Yeah, but you notice how quickly they all marshaled their forces and got on the same side.
Yeah.
Republicans won't do that.
Right.
And we got the Lincoln Project, which is the slimiest
and Mitt Romney.
Pieces of dirt. Mitt Romney and what's her name? Who's no longer in the Senate, Liz Cheney, in Congress, and that kind of, and there's many more. I mean, they're just so. We have the worst set of people in the Republican side of the Congress that I have ever seen in my life, and a house divided. It goes back to Jesus's words and Abraham Lincoln's. Quoting Jesus, a house divided cannot stand. And that's why the Republican Party is not standing. That's why we don't have the majority in the Senate, because we had Republicans that would not support Dr. Oz, would not support Herschel, would not support Kerry Lake and our candidate there in Las Vegas, in Nevada.
Yeah.
So with people like that, we get what we have. I mean, you can't win that way. You can't win that way. It's sad.
I got to say, for Mullen, I'm not an attorney, but I think attorneys are going to be looking at what he said outside at the bottom of the Capitol steps is where he made his famous rant. If he was inside, even in the rotunda, he would enjoy immunity. According to our Constitution, he can't be sued for defaming anybody, slandering any. But outside those capitals, outside the building, he can. Mm-hmm. And Matt Gaetz may have actionable case against him for defamation.
Well, we hope Matt Gaetz is a bigger man than...
This is why you want people to own up, fess up, restore, and show some grace and some restoration. Because I think if I'm Matt Gaetz, no, it isn't enough for you to just say I'm sorry to me privately. You go get in that front of that microphone and say, I was wrong, I was baseless, this is wrong to do to anybody, especially somebody trying to fix this nation. And again, I think Mullen is a stand-up guy, but I think he has his weak moments, and I think we saw one of them.
Yeah.
So...
All right.
Let's see. Gingrich, I have to say, Gingrich, what he said early on, because he wrote a story about it, he says, you got to expel Matt Gaetz from Congress. Gingrich is suffering PTSD because he was right where Kevin McCarthy was back in 1997. I know, because I just about walked in the room while they were doing it. Literally, I took my wife and kids, and I had an appointment to meet with Largent, and I get to his office in the Cannon building, and I see back in a conference room of his whole suite a bunch of guys in suits around a conference table. Well, that looks like something going on, and he quick distracted me. He says, one of Coburn's aides was willing to take you on a tour here, and I've got to get into a meeting, like, oh, okay. He really cut it short. And then I find out the next week that their attempt to make the motion for vacating the chair, the speaker, failed because Dick Armey went turncoat when they found out he wasn't the heir apparent, because he was the number 2 guy. And then when Largent then went up for re-election on 98, election night, I'm with him downtown, and I said, you need to challenge Newt openly now. And, he didn't say anything to me, but the next day he announced, I want Bob Livingston to run for speaker, and if he won't, I will.
Bob Livingston, gee, that's another whole issue.
And then Bob Livingston find out he had as many dalliances going on in affairs as Gingrich. But by that time, and that was weeks, maybe months later, Largent was already in a strong campaign for the number 2 spot, majority leader, up against Dick Armey. And so then Denny Hastert stepped up.
All right, let's not go into Dover. It'll take it.
But, yeah, you're right. I'm going to. But anyway, so Matt Gaetz was Steve Largent, Tom Coburn 2.0. And the hatred between Largent and Gingrich was, I don't know that the rift ever was healed.
Really?
But Largent then became a lobbyist.
Right.
Head of, and bringing money to Washington. And let me tell you, if anything will get forgiveness from a politician, it's lots of money. So, but you're right. This is that, when you go back to your story with Dan Boren, it's that you got to constantly raise, because it's every 2 years, the cycle starts all over again.
I have to say, in retrospect, I probably have more respect for Dan Boren than I do for any other congressman we've had. When he got out, he didn't stay in Washington.
Thank God.
He didn't become a lobbyist.
Yeah.
He became chairman of NSU.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing now, but
Carson did the same thing.
Yeah.
Brad Carson.
Yeah.
President of TU, right?
Right. So it's funny how it's almost the opposite. In Oklahoma, the Republicans end up staying in D.C., and the Democrats come back here.
Right.
Whereas with the other states, the Democrats like to stay up there and stay in the whirlpool. Yeah,
and I'm finding out things that are really disappointing to me about this whole in love with the money. Because right away when Bridenstine elected, he got on the Armed Services Committee. He voted for everything armed services, everything that went to military industrial complex, everything. And now I find out he's a lobbyist for the military industrial complex. Aerospace, but and this is a real problem with me. But I told Bridenstine literally at a meeting, I had him speaking, and we finished. I said, Jim, the last time a Tulsa congressman, after he finished serving, came back to live amongst us was Paige Belcher. And I said, no, I can't promise anything, but we named a golf course after him. And Largent, Jim Jones, John Sullivan, Jim Bridenstine, they're all staying in the lobbyist game. And I really feel like
J.C. Watts.
Yes. Yeah, and there's been money scandals tied to a lot of things involved with that. And it's an ugly side. And I don't think the founders envisioned it. The founders didn't even envision the party system.
You know what? Honestly, one thing that would do it, if I know you can't really do it, but one thing it would probably eliminate a lot of it is if they had to reveal what their debt load was when they're running. In other words, if you had to reveal what are your debts when you're running, to allow the people to question why you're running. Because if I'm running with more than $100,000 of debt, then
make me versus. So for Kevin Hearn, for example, we know that he didn't have a debt.
Oh yeah, right.
Very
successful.
Yeah. Whereas some of the others, we know had some debts when they were running for the office.
Yep.
So, and I'm not just trying to pinpoint any specific candidate. I'm just saying in general, I guarantee you, and not just in our state, across the country, you take our guy in New York. I can't think of his name, the guy who lied.
Oh, yeah.
22 times. Basically nothing was true.
Sanchez or something?
Yes, Santos.
Santos, yes.
Yeah. Who I don't think they should get rid of. I think they just need to leave him there just to show the Democrats we can play the game too. I mean,
is his name really Santos?
Well, this Prince is the artist formerly known as.
There you go.
The congressman possibly known as George Santos, but or commonly known as George Santos. But anyway, but they're but it's a common thing, and it's become. It's like when I went to Uganda and I spoke at the National Seminary, and they became very angry at me because probably 90% of the guys there wanted to become pastors in the Church of Uganda, the Anglican Church there, which we spoke about earlier. But because it was a job, they knew they could get paid. And maybe 10% of them actually saw it as their calling to serve the people. But most of them were there just because they could see it as a way to get paid. And I think, sadly, a lot of people run for office these days. And not just, you talk about, people have asked me if I want to run for the House. I have a perfect example. I know a guy, he was an insurance agent, was a bad agent, lazy, didn't want to really be an agent, didn't do anything. So he ended up leaving that job and decided to run for a house. So he moved into where there was an empty district, got him an apartment in an empty house district, local, a state house district here in the state, in this area. I won't mention any names or districts. But so he moves in there, ran unopposed, found out there was an open district, got elected, didn't do anything, went to Oklahoma City, got his $36,000.
Now it's 45.
Okay, got his got back then his $36,000 a year for just being a state rep, and then whatever else he did along that. But this is the kind of stuff, and I'm sure there's more than him that do that. Because what do you work 3 months out of the year?
Well, yeah, you live out of a suitcase for about 4 months.
It's 4 months, okay. So for 4 whole months out of 12, But, I mean, my goodness.
And they cover all your travel expenses.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
So,
it's I mean, many people ask me, I could easily do that, run my insurance agency or have an assistant run. I could cover her whole annual salary and then everything I make, rather.
Except, Eddie, you got to be comfortable begging for money. And a lot of us can't do that.
Well, now if you have an open district.
Well, I'm just saying, if you have to raise money.
Oh, yeah, if you have to raise money, yeah. Well, even there you don't, because, you can get the tribes to just back you.
Well, then you're owned by somebody. You belong.
Well, that was the whole point, right? That's the whole point of what we're saying here. That we've got too many people that like that. The tribe comes in and says, we're giving you just lobbyists come in and say, we'll give you $100,000 for your next election. If you, I'm your man. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember,
You sound conservative.
Yeah.
But you vote.
Right. See, the funny thing, I mentioned this, that fight between Steve Large and Dick Armey. Well, when Steve was running the first time, Dick Armey actually came in and talked to us during the campaign, and he said something. He says, when you go to Congress, you got to know who you are and what you believe in, because if you have any question, you will be owned before the sun sets. Lobbyists are looking for politicians to own, and they have the money to buy them.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's like that old saying is, you know, hey, if I gave you $1 billion, would you vote the way I tell you to? You know, and, well, okay, now you're a prostitute, a political prostitute.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of prostitution in politics.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a sad deal.
So let me ask you, getting back to Matt Gaetz, he has proposed term limits. Mm-hmm. He thinks 12 years for Congress, mm-hmm. which would, and then I guess be the same for Senate.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm in agreement with that, with the 12 years. I am in favor of some limit. You know, it's funny, people have a problem with setting a term limit on the back end. Mm-hmm. But then why do we have a limit on the front end? So how can you say you got to be 25 years old to be a member of Congress? Mm-hmm. Why not make it 21? Mm-hmm. Why not make it 18 if you're old enough to go, you know, the old saying, go to die to defend your country?
That's a very powerful argument.
Why should you not be able to serve in Congress at 18? Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, so I would lower the age of being able, at least 21, mm-hmm. to be able to serve in Congress. Mm-hmm. And then I would raise or lower it on the back end to 80. Mm-hmm. I think 80 is enough.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, if you can't do what you need to do by the time you're 80, you don't need to do
mm-hmm. it. But I tell you,
But I mean, as far as saying, you know, you can only serve so many terms or some, you know, so many years, maybe not. But because your people should be able. But come on, not, you know, Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein, mm-hmm. you know,
Jim Inhofe.
Yeah, exactly. Jim Inhofe. What was it? Robert Byrd.
Yeah.
You know, when you get to
Strom Thurmond. That's probably the biggest one.
When you're needing diapers to go to.
Well, that would include Joe Biden now. You're talking diapers.
Exactly.
And he needs somebody to wipe his butt, too.
Yep.
Yeah, he said that as much. I've got tape on it, okay? Yep. But here's the thing. And I was serving as an officer in the Tulsa County Republican Party, and we had Inhofe up for re-election. And I asked the question loudly, is this guy fit to serve another 6 years? Are we willing to give him 6 years? You know, and it was a tough deal because anything, when you're that old, you're vulnerable. Anything could happen. We pick you as our nominee, and we got to wait months till the general election. What if something happens?
Yeah, my first clue or fear of him maybe being there too long was, or long enough, let's put it that way, mm-hmm. was when he landed at the wrong airport.
Yeah, almost killed a guy. It was a closed airstrip.
Yeah.
He landed anyway. Yeah. And, you know, I got chewed out by a lot of people, a lot of office holders chewing me up because Inhofe is the godfather of the Oklahoma Republican Party at the time. And you don't touch Inhofe.
No, I think he's a great man. I think he did a great
legacy
things. Yeah, he did great things. And he taught me a lot, mm-hmm. You know, and he even gave me a key to the city.
Yeah.
So I really respect the guy. I have a great love for the man. But again, like, you know me, as I told you, you know, you can't be close enough to me. You know, my kids, my wife, my dad, my mom. If I disagree, I would disagree.
Yeah.
You know, but
he ultimately, Inhofe, after a couple of years, he took himself out.
Yeah, which I appreciate.
Yes.
I appreciate. He did the manly thing to do. Mm-hmm. And that's what you got to do. But you got these people that just won't do it. And it seems to be always on the other side. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fetterman. Mm-hmm. that's not an age thing. That's just a mental condition.
He went there like that. He didn't get that way from being a politician. Right. We literally, Pennsylvania elected somebody as that.
They showed it.
Yeah, but here's the thing I have is this term limit ideological argument is that's what elections are, right? And you've said that.
Yeah. And I stand by that. But at the same time, I think I don't believe in term limits. But I do believe in an age or mental capacity limit.
Yeah. But I would say amongst members of Congress, less than 1% of the time, somebody who has less money defeats an incumbent with more money. Once they get there and they get their hands on that lobbyist money, they're untouchable. Probably 99% of the time, they're going to win re-election. And you don't like it, you could say nobody buys your vote, but believe me, votes are bought with campaigns.
Yeah, they may not buy yours, but they buy enough of the others to defeat your vote. Right?
Yeah, and the way our friend Darren Gaetz always quoted Inhofe, no money, no message, no victory. That's the way Inhofe said it.
Yeah.
You can't get your message out without money.
Yeah, these push cards, the cards they mail out.
Yeah, the mailers.
Mm-hmm. To me, they go straight in the trash. Mm-hmm. Okay. To me, the guy that shows up the most on Family Feud, on Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, that's the guy that wins. Because that's the people that vote the most. There are certain, believe it or not, there's certain programs, certain times of the day that you do your television ads, radio ads, that get you the votes. Because that's the target audience. And you've also got to have a certain message. And you can only do that with money. TV ads are expensive.
Yeah.
And you got to have the money. So.
Yeah, it's rare. It does happen. I mean, Bridenstine took out Sullivan. Sullivan's negatives were so bad. Yeah. And it was in a primary. Mike Sinar got taken out by an old guy who spent $9,000.
Right.
But, again, it's when your own people feel like, there's some of those campaigns where people are so angry.
I think Clinton got Sinar out. His close association.
The gun bill. The gun bill was the thing. You do not take away the guns in Little Dixie.
Right, and he was just too cozy with Clinton.
Yeah,
he wrapped himself around Clinton almost, and it seemed like a good idea at the time until Clinton proved himself not to be the old Democrat. Yeah.
So I look at it pragmatically. I think we should try some kind of a term limit thing. I really do. But I admit it's a defeat ideologically.
Yeah, no. See, we've got the problem with it's always semantics. I'd rather take it out of the terminology of term limits. I'd rather put it into the terminology of an age limit or a capability limit. Because at that point, see, if you put it into an age limit, just like you can't fly a plane after a certain age, you can't drive at a certain age, or you can't, there's certain qualifications.
And you sell car insurance, right? So over the last 20 years, they keep stepping up the hoops for young drivers to jump through. Now you got to pass a reading test.
Right.
Even though your written test, they'll read to you in case you can't read. But in all these things, in upping the driver's training behind the wheel and all that, but they'll never go after old people who are not fit to drive.
Right, but
because they vote.
Right, but here's what they do with car insurance: they jack your rates up.
Car insurance does that.
Car insurance.
I'm talking about the public safety people.
Right, on the licenses.
The
right,
government, yeah.
Yeah. Now, with pilot's license, they will.
Yes.
Yes, you can't get a license after a certain age.
Yeah.
But as far as a driver's license, not driver's license, on insurance, when you hit 65, your rates start going up again. And every year, it starts going up and up and up. It costs you more because you're older.
Right, and they want you to take yourself out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you're a Nancy Pelosi, the longer you serve, the more money you make.
You know, it's funny you're saying that, but I haven't even thought about that. My rates are going up.
Yeah.
I keep still thinking that I'm under that age, but
you still feel like you're 18.
Well, yeah, but I haven't even been watching. I've been wondering, my rates are going up, and I didn't even realize. Wait a minute, I'm above that threshold.
Yeah.
I'm preaching to the choir right now, and I'm an agent, and I wouldn't even think. It's funny, all the insurance rules and things. I never think of them applying to myself, but that is how they work.
Yeah,
you know, they go down when you hit 40. Okay, they're high from 16 to 25. They go down a little bit at 21. They're still high until you hit 25. 25, they go low.
Yeah.
And then at 40, they drop.
Yeah.
The lowest you're ever going to get. As low as they're going to get when you hit 40.
Yep.
And until you hit 50, go up a little bit. And 60, then they go higher. And then, of course, they start going up from 60 on. But it's just so funny how everything works.
Yeah.
Well, listen, on that note,
I've got one last thing. For those of you who've been watching us live instead of watching the OU-Texas game, I'm just going to say OU's up 10 points in the third quarter.
Oh, it's 10. Mine didn't update.
Yeah, it just did on mine.
Oh, there. I'm updating now.
That's okay.
You're
I
right.
used to have a Mac.
Thank you. I should have hit my little watch button. I'm not watching it. Mine just has the scores here. So.
See, in my house, all my kids have switched to Mac. And anytime I refresh before they do, and they say, yeah, I understand. I feel for you. I used to have a Mac. I didn't, but it's just a little dig.
What? That's a Mac?
No, I'm joking. You don't have a Mac.
No, I don't have a Mac. No.
But those of you who have a Mac, it's another dig. Yeah. Okay, hate me for it. I don't care.
No. You know, it's funny. Something came up about iPhones and Androids, and I put in, you know, something about Android, and I could not believe how many people are Android users, how many people switched to Android. I was shocked because I've been led to believe that everybody uses an iPhone, but I have been.
Sadly, they are the big player in the United States.
Oh no, I know, but I mean, but I was just shocked on Facebook. All of the Android users that came out of the closet or out of the woodwork to admit that they were Android users, and it's the other way around. Yeah, it was the Android users that all came out, and boy, they had unkind things to say about the iPhone users. So anyway.
Oh, last headline: Babylon Bee talks about a genius move by a Midwestern family to get a free vacation hotel in New York City by simply declaring themselves immigrants. Illegal immigrants.
I sent you one a couple of days ago.
Yeah?
Did you read it?
No.
Yeah. I just sent you.
I was just reading the headline.
I just sent you a Babylon Bee the other day. Let me see if I can find this before we leave the air here today. I think I can. Yep, here it is right here. I think that power outage may have affected the internet in here today. Or here it is. Oh yeah. Elderly woman escapes nursing home, rants about deprogramming the populace.
Yep. Okay. Nursing home rants about deprogramming the populace.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Hillary.
Yes. It's Hillary Clinton.
Oh, here's another one. White House issues a condemnation of the Israeli attack that Biden funded, which was your point.
Yeah, exactly. But on this one here, elderly woman escapes the nursing home, rants about deprogramming the populace.
Yep.
Viewers are perplexed by a CNN television interview featuring a deranged old lady who recently escaped from an elder care facility, angrily ranting about wanting to deprogram the populace. Mm-hmm. Christian, they must comply, those deplorables, all of them. The disheveled geriatric growled at the camera while CNN's Christiane Amanpour attempted to de-escalate the situation. If they don't fall in line, we'll round them up, reduce, and re-educate them, deprogram them, reprogram them. If that doesn't work, we'll just disappear them. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, there's a couple.
Yeah.
There's a couple of stories I gotta say we should at least mention before we sign off. Biden issued an executive order to start funding building the wall in Texas, a section of Texas.
Right.
And people are furious. AOC went nuts.
Right.
And ends up, it was law. The money had to be spent or the administration gets sued over it, which begs the question, when Biden and Pelosi and Schumer controlled all of it, why didn't they repeal that law? They didn't. And so it's just funny watching the Democrats go back and forth after condemning, saying it's racist. Oh, that's the other thing. Ben Garrison, I think, was the artist. This is, when Trump built the wall, it was racist. When Biden's building the wall, it's not racist. Right. Go figure.
Well, we know.
Yeah. So that was...
All right,
that
everybody.
was the other story.
Yip. That's all, folks. And
Adios.
we'll talk to you next week.
All right.